Tyler Robinson on trial for Charlie Kirk's murder.
Isn't it fair to say that as of the moment that Tyler Robinson voluntarily surrendered to authorities in Washington County, as of that moment, you all did not know who the shooter was? Is that right?
We had identified a person of interest, but we did not specifically know who the shooter was.
State Bureau of Investigation agent David Hull answering lead defense attorney Catherine Nestor on day 2 of a preliminary hearing expected to last all week. No word yet today from Graham Plattner, the Senate candidate in Maine, facing growing calls from fellow Democrats to step aside after a rape allegation he denies. At the World Cup, Argentina's Lionel Messi scoring his 8th goal of the tournament, leveling the match with Egypt at 2 goals apiece before Argentina scored again in stoppage time. Still tied. America is 3-2 now the score. America is listening to Fox News.
WJR traffic and weather first.
Midday construction closes your 2 right lanes on I-75 southbound at Clay Street. You're slow from Kniff Street. That should wrap up by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Traffic signals are malfunctioning on Ford Road in both directions at Inkster. Please treat that like a four-way stop there. Signals have gone dark on Oak Street at 2nd Street and Wyandotte also. That's due to a semi-truck hitting the traffic lights at that intersection. The railway gate on Beck Road between M14 and 5 Mile stuck in the down position. Please use Sheldon Road as a detour for the time being as we have Dave Rieger go out there and dislodge it. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Mostly sunny today. Right now, it's 84 degrees, partly cloudy for tonight, a low of 67. More sun for tomorrow. We'll get up to 90. I'm Rich Luzensky, WJR traffic and weather first.
It's Ryan Armani. Are you in pain right now? I'm talking about the severe and chronic kind that stops you from enjoying your life. I've been there too, and that's why I want to tell you about the amazing pain elimination treatment I use only at the Nerve and Disc Laser Institute. It's FDA cleared and 100% safe. The highest dose, highest intensity lasers in Michigan. The best part, there's no injections, pain meds, downtime, side effects, or surgery. Great for people suffering from arthritis, sciatica, neuropathy, or other ailments. Laser treatments get rid of the pain, they reduce inflammation, and regenerate tissues by targeting the root cause of the pain. It's located in Farmington and Clinton Township. You can call 248-326-2030. That's 248-326-2030. Mention my name this month, and you're going to get 50% off your treatment plan. The Nerve and Disc Laser Institute. Call now.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds, and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you, with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou, because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-560-0301, 800-560-0301, or biglou.com.
Paid for by term provider.
This is JR Afternoon on 760 WJR with guest host Marie Osborne.
And welcome in on your Tuesday afternoon. As Ryan says, let's go. We're glad you're joining us this afternoon. Beautiful day outside. I think we're headed into some higher temperatures this afternoon. A little bit uncomfortable out there for some folks. Part of our building doesn't have air conditioning, so you can imagine some folks here are not too happy. They're trying to do their best to keep us cooled off, but it's really a big job, that's for sure. Lots going on today, as there always is. As I told Paul W. just a couple of minutes ago, we're going to have Paul Gross on, the WDIV Meteorologist Emeritus, to talk about this El Niño story that's called like a King El Niño or Super El Niño. that's going to impact weather in the coming months. And we're going to talk to Paul Gross about it. Is it even something to consider or even something to worry about? We're going to talk to him coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about President Trump being at Ankara, Turkey today for the NATO summit with the leaders there. Also, a really interesting article that I read in the Detroit Free Press. It was a column from contributing columnist Darren Nichols, who's a longtime journalist here in Metro Detroit. Always great perspective, a really fine journalist. And he talks about Terrion Arnold and how sometimes making decisions about the people you surround yourself with in life can bring an end to your life as you know it. And all your accomplishments, all your talents can go down the drain if you don't have the right people to surround you. And this was such a great column, I thought, in the Free Press. You'll want to make sure you check it out. But we're going to have him on to talk about it and his thoughts about this. Also, you may know people like this. People, young people who are still living with their parents. So, is that a good idea? Is it all about saving money? Is it not being able to cut the apron strings? Is it something more emotional? We're going to talk about that from a financial standpoint. Is it really a good idea for young adults to be living with their parents? We've got a couple of young adults here on staff. Beth Ann Long, our producer today, Danielle Mason, our engineer. Beth Ann, when I gave you the story, what did you think about it?
I have a lot of friends that do it. And honestly,
but you don't. You're on your own.
I am on my own. I got this job a few months after I graduated. So I was out of the house very quickly, but I won't lie. If I was working in my parents' hometown, I feel like I probably would have stayed a little longer with them.
Yeah.
Just with how the housing costs are now, it might have been a good idea, but I wanted this job. So
And we're so glad you took this job, actually. We're all really glad you took this job. Well, but that's, but you make a very good point. It's key what you just said. You said, I found a job and then therefore I was able to move, and you had to move some distance because you're from Grand Rapids. So you had to move some distance to get here. But see, the money part of it was key for you, right? You had to have the job in order to afford a place to live.
yeah, I had to make sure I was getting a well-paid job that could provide me with somewhere I could be and be able
Right.
to sustain myself. So that was a very fortunate part of it.
But that's the okay, if you're friends that are living with their parents, and Danielle, I'm sure you know people who are living with their parents as well. Feel free to chime in here. Is it mostly financial that the reason why they're staying with their parents, or is there also an emotional attachment, do you think?
Most of my friends are financial of just graduating college, and it's a very hard workforce right now, just
Yeah.
finding jobs. So that's what most of my friends are for, is just can't find the job, so they have to stay home.
Danielle, what about you? Do you have friends that stay with their parents for emotional reasons?
No, we're too old. We're too old for that. We're 35 years old. If we're living with our parents, we're schmoes. However, I did I did ask
That was
my
rich.
mother.
That
Yeah, that
was
was rich. I did ask my mother if I could move in with her because I couldn't I'm poor. And she said no because I'm too loud. So
Mom.
for financial reasons I was denied, but it's fine.
Mom,
She doesn't want me back there.
give me her phone number. I'll have a call. Mom to mom.
She's going to be like, no, I just helped you get a new roof. I just helped you get a new furnace. I just helped you get a new air conditioner. You're staying there for as long as possible.
Yeah, you know what though? When our kids, I remember hearing my husband when our kids were small. Our daughter is like 7 years older than the two boys are. There was a big age difference there. So I heard him say to her, she was getting ready maybe to go off to college. And he said something like, well, when you go off to college, you're not coming back here afterwards. Oh, I had to pull him aside after that, after I heard him say that, and say, you are never telling our kids that they can't come back to our house. This is their house. This is their home. It will always be their house and home. Now, mind you, this was a while back. Okay. The economy was never great for young people. I'll say that, but it was at least better than it is now. So I had to lecture him about, don't ever tell the kids they can't ever come back. So all the kids moved out, either right after college or they came back for a little bit and then moved on. So that was cool. But I think you're right. I think that when you reach into your 30s, unless it's a temporary situation, I think you really need to be somewhere else. Also, if you're living with your parents, I think if you have a plan, like if you say, Mom, Dad, I need to move back in for a year. Once I, stash this amount of cash, I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. Or when I land this job, or, when so-and-so and I, are going to get married, then I'm off. See, the open-ended thing is what bothers me, right? You kind of have to have a plan in place. You guys agree with me on that?
I agree.
Right? Yeah, you need to have kind of a plan. And I know things are really tough for I just can't believe how hard it is. People my age are always talking with one another and saying that when we were your age, we seriously could have bought a house. With our first job, we could have, it wouldn't have been easy and it would have been really tough and it would have been rice and beans for a while, but we could have bought a house and we could have been on our own. We got married and had kids almost right away. Totally different world now. So we're going to talk about that later on coming up with David Sowerby talking about, David Hall, President and CEO of Hall Financial is going to be joining us to talk about that. So I'm talking about the perspective, too, from home buying on that. Okay, as always, we want you to join us. You can always hear all of our shows, all the interviews. If you were listening this morning and you heard something, you didn't hear the end of it, go to WJR.com. You can hear all the interviews right there. Also, we stream this show live on YouTube at 760 WJR. You can subscribe to stay up to date. We'd love to have you as part of the family here. So again, you can go to YouTube at 760 WJR. All right, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the presidential visit to Ankara, Turkey today for the NATO summit. What should we be looking for in this visit? There's a lot going on in the world today that President Trump is making an impression with, so we need to know about that. We'll have more on that when we come back. You're listening to JR Afternoon.
Get answers to your retirement planning questions by joining the president of the Brzezinski Group, Brett Brzezinski, for Inside Retirement Tuesday nights at 7. Firm offers insurance services, investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Hi, it's Paul W. here from Metro Cars. When planning a wedding, every detail matters, including transportation. Metro Cars provides premium wedding transportation throughout Southeast Michigan, offering luxury black car service for the bride and groom, as well as group transportation options for wedding parties, family members, and guests. With a fleet that includes luxury sedans, SUVs, executive vans, minibuses, and motor coaches, Metro Cars can accommodate transportation needs for intimate ceremonies and large-scale celebrations alike. For more than 35 years, Metrocars has been trusted for professionalism, reliability, and exceptional service. To learn more about wedding transportation packages, visit metrocars.com or call 800-456-1701. That's metrocars.com or 800-456-1701. Metrocars, elevating your wedding day from the first pickup to the final farewell.
WJR Traffic and Weather First.
This report is sponsored by Bank of America. Bank of America, sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 2026, dedicated to offering solutions to help businesses meet their goals locally and globally. More at bankofamerica.com/gamechangers. That's bankofamerica.com/gamechangers.
Some midday construction closes your two right lanes on I-75 southbound at Clay Street. You're slow from Kniff Street. That should wrap up by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Traffic signals are malfunctioning on Ford Road in both directions at Inkster, and the railway gate on Beck Road between M14 and 5 Miles still stuck in the down position. Please use Sheldon Road as a detour for the time being. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel. Mostly sunny today. Right now it's 84 degrees. Partly cloudy for tonight. Will drop down to 67. More sun for tomorrow. A high near 90. I'm Rich Luzinski, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Wednesday on JR Morning, we'll talk with Kristen McDonald-Rivet. She's got a plan to stop public officials from using their position for insider trading. And it's Wednesday, so we'll put on our dancing shoes for Name That Tune right here from 6 until 9 a.m. on WJR, WJR.com, and the always free WJR app.
President Trump joining world leaders this week for a high-stakes NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. His growing criticism of NATO and threats to further reduce American support continue to put a strain on this alliance. While at the meeting, the president is expected to signal he's willing to sell Turkey F-35 fighter jets, according to two U.S. officials, despite a congressional ban on that. We wanted to bring in Peter Trumbore, professor and chair of the Department of Political Science at Oakland University, talk a little bit about what he's looking at on this very special summit in Turkey. Hello, Peter. Glad you could join us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Marie.
So one of the things that the president did was he started the trip with a meeting with the Turkish President Erdogan, where the leaders discussed trade and defense procurement topics. How important was this meeting, do you think?
I think it's pretty big. It's a pretty big deal. Trump and Erdogan have long had a good personal relationship. There have been times when the relationship between our two countries has been a little frayed, and an indication of that is that that suspension of Turkey from the F-35 aircraft program, because back in 2019, Turkey bought a high-tech air defense system from Russia, and sort of the consequence of that is we kicked Turkey out of this advanced fighter program of ours. So, making that connection again, I think is important, certainly for Turkey. It probably helps to cement that personal relationship between Trump and Erdogan. And so I think that's pretty much that's a pretty big deal. The other thing that I think Trump was looking to cement was Turkish support for our war with Iran, which has been a little questionable as well, right? So I think those two things kind of go together, making sure that Turkey stays on our side in this conflict with Iran and rewarding Turkey by dangling out the prospect of selling them F-35s again.
So the president has always wanted NATO members to increase their defense spending. Do you think that he's going to make any headway on that during this meeting?
Well, actually, there has been a lot of headway made on that. And we should be clear, it's not just President Trump who has been arguing that the Europeans need to increase their defense spending. This has been a regular complaint of American presidents going back, 20, 30 years. This sort of sense that the Europeans have kind of coasted on our defense commitment to Europe, and some frustration on the part of long string of American presidents about the lack of defense spending by our European allies. So that has in fact changed. Now, I think, if you're going to give Donald Trump credit for anything, it could be that we should credit him with being more forceful in sort of pressuring the Europeans to step up. But I think the reason they're doing so is the Europeans aren't convinced that we're willing to defend them anymore. And so if that's going to be the case, then the Europeans have to take a much more central role in ensuring their own security.
We have all these member nations coming to this meeting. They all have differing priorities, very serious different priorities. So, but one of the biggest things about this alliance is that it stays together, that everybody finds some commonality with each other. What do they have to do to, because it seems to me that those differences are bigger than ever. So how can they find this common ground?
I think the common ground has always rested on sort of, I think, two things. The first is this common defense commitment, this idea that each member of the alliance is committed to the defense of every other member. And that's enshrined in Article 5 of the NATO treaty. It was one of the very first elements that was negotiated when NATO was formed after World War II. So that's I think, one pillar, right? This idea that each member state is committed to the defense of every other member state. But the other one really has rested on this sort of shared democratic values and democratic principles. This is an alliance of essentially European and Western industrial democracies. And because of that, we have sort of shared values, we have sort of shared norms, we have shared economic interests, and all of those things, right, have helped historically to hold the alliance together. Even when members of the alliance have been in very tense relations with each other. For example, Turkey and Greece have routinely been on the brink of armed conflict many times over the span of their sort of modern relationship, since the 1940s. So, but what has prevented that from really exploding and what has served to tie the countries together is that shared defense commitment and those shared democratic values and economic interests.
Yeah, so that remains the common theme. Do you think they're going to take any action here at this summit to combat some of these emerging threats that we're looking at, things like cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns, use of artificial intelligence in warfare and so on? Do you think they're going to talk about all that?
I think they may talk about it. I think it's going to be difficult for them to act in a truly unified way. There are a lot of differing interests, and in some of these cases, President Trump and the United States are on opposite sides of our longstanding allies on some of these points, including cyber warfare and AI and things like that. We just aren't as interested in cooperation, and we're not as concerned, for example, about the emerging cyber capability in places like Russia and elsewhere. So, I think they'll talk about it. There may be some sort of joint statement that gets released, but I don't anticipate any sort of substantive action to come out of this summit. And frankly, very rarely does action come out of these meetings. They're often really focused on making sure that the relationships are solid and having these sort of statements of solidarity and statements of sort of joint positions on policy matters that don't necessarily translate into anything being actually done. So it's the symbolism of these meetings are as important as anything else.
So if you're talking about symbolism, we have to touch on this. The president likely to see the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and they've kind of been at odds. They were pals there for a while, then they've been at odds. And so, what are your thoughts? Do you think we're going to see any kind of reconciliation here between those two?
I don't know. This is one of those things where, before Trump traveled to Turkey, he put some sort of, insulting stuff on his social media about her. When he was asked about where that relationship stands, once he arrived in Turkey, he sort of softened his position. This is one of those things where the president, when he is with people he tends to essentially make nice, and then as soon as he gets back on his plane, he starts, trashing people on social media. So, I think the other thing to note is that Donald Trump has always had a problem with women in leadership positions. He had a very tense relationship with Angela Merkel of Germany. Certainly, he has tense relationships with women leaders in the United States. So the fact that the one sort of European leader that he is very consistently trashing on social media these days, largely because they didn't support us in Iran, is the woman prime minister of Italy. I guess that's not a huge surprise to me. Trump is not known for his sort of respect for women in leadership positions.
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because although I can agree with you to some extent, Susie Wiles is his chief of staff, and she is, she's credited with really making that White House run the second term here that he's had. So,
yeah, sure.
I mean, so he's got women in those key roles.
But here's the thing. There has been, unlike in President Trump's first term, there is no internal rumbling about any sense of anybody standing up to Donald Trump, of gainsaying him, of challenges his positions. That includes Susie Wiles, right? So I'm sure he's long had women in positions of sort of close advice to him going back into his business career. But there's no sort of indication that those folks did anything other than say yes, boss. Right. So, the fact that he has a woman as his chief of staff who is remarkably loyal and has essentially been willing to do whatever he says, I think that's different than standing up to a female head of state who doesn't necessarily buckle under when you tell her to.
Right. Agree and agree with you. But he wants people to agree with him. I mean, that is a character trait that we've known for a long time about this president. He wants to surround himself with people who agree with him. So I think it's very interesting that really, in all, even though we're talking about policy and global policy here, all of this comes right down to relationships. That's what this is really all about, this NATO summit, is the relationships. It comes down to those relationships with these countries.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And, when I teach American foreign policy, it's one of the things that I talk about, especially when we talk about summit meetings like this, right? That this is about relationship building and relationship maintaining, in particular between heads of state.
Peter Trumbore, professor and chair of the Department of Political Science, Oakland University. Always a pleasure to have you on board to talk a little bit about some of these complex issues. Thanks, Peter. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Maria.
When we come back here on JR Afternoon, we'll be talking about the weather and maybe some severe weather coming our way. We'll have that next.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Introducing Exclusively Cabinets, offering 9 different cabinet lines with no budget too big or small. Exclusively Cabinets offer free state-of-the-art design services. Join our clientele of over 100 5-star reviews. ExclusivellyCabinets.com.
For more than 35 years, MetroCars has set the standard for professional transportation across Michigan and beyond. MetroCars is proud to serve as the official transportation provider of 760 WJR. Executives and business travelers trust Metrocars for dependable airport transportation and seamless corporate travel. From early morning departures to late night arrivals, their professional chauffeurs ensure every ride is punctual, comfortable, and stress-free. Choose Metrocars. Metrocars.com.
Fox News, I'm John Saucier. President Trump hanging out with the Turkish president ahead of the NATO summit there this week. The president again expressing disappointment with other NATO countries as they have not supported the U.S. conflict with Iran. He emphasizes he probably wouldn't have even attended the summit if it wasn't in Turkey.
We did something in Iran. We don't need anybody's help. I didn't even want their help. But before I asked, they said they wouldn't be there. And we've invested trillions of dollars in NATO.
Several European countries, including the UK, argue NATO is a defensive alliance. A high-rise building under renovation in Manhattan is in danger of collapsing after inspectors discovered a couple of its columns had buckled. Multiple floors were sagging. New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani says this building is slowly shifting.
Every few minutes, we are looking at a new assessment of the structure and of the possibilities and the options that we have in front of us.
People in the area have been evacuated. America's listening to Fox News.
WJR traffic and weather first.
We still have that midday construction to contend with, closing your two right lanes on I-75 southbound at Clay Street. You're slow from Kniff Street. That should wrap up by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Traffic signals are still malfunctioning on Ford Road in both directions at Inkster, and the railway gate on Beck Road between M14 and 5 Mile, still stuck in the down position. You can use Sheldon as an alternate. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Mostly sunny today. Right now it's 84 degrees, partly cloudy for tonight, a low of 67. More sun for tomorrow, a high near 90. I'm Rich Luzensky, WJR traffic and weather first.
Hey there, WJR listeners. Chris Alberta here at Principium. Listen, your bucket of money, that precious little gem that's taken you a lifetime to accumulate, has been growing. And if you're anything like all of my clients, you were worried that it might not be enough to supplement your retirement, especially if the markets have a downturn. All these incredible investment and insurance tools these days, they've been designed to address specific problems and concerns. But most folks I see every week, they have the wrong stuff. You know why? Because no one's taking the time to actually invest in them and diagnose the actual problem, the actual concern. Yeah, look, my process, it's laborious, but it's worth it. The results and the peace of mind are a byproduct of us learning together. If you're retired or nearing retirement, it's time for you to dig in with me. We can increase the reward and we can decrease the risk. It's a win-win. So stop going to steak dinners, free steak dinners offered by financial salespeople. Invest in yourself with me at my office on your timetable with zero pressure. Call me today, Chris Alberta at Principium, 1-888-800-8949.
We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on sound money, later embodied by the gold standard. But we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have seen inflation erode the dollar's value. What's the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be devalued? Hi, it's Dr. Ron Paul, and I encourage you to speak with my friends at Birch Gold Group about diversifying an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn more by requesting a free info kit on gold IRAs. Just text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Text SECURE to 989898.
Mitch Albom presents the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence. Don't miss this nationwide commemoration Wednesday 4 till 6 p.m. on WJR. With Mitch and voices across the nation standing to salute our founding document. See it live at the Henry Ford in Greenfield Village. And don't miss it wherever you are. Share the spirit of America, Michigan's signature Declaration of Independence reading with Mitch Albom, Wednesday on 760 WJR.
Wake up tomorrow with JR Morning with Chris Renwick, Lloyd Jackson, and Jamie Edmonds on 760 WJR. Right now, it's JR Afternoon with Ryan Ermani. Sitting in today, Marie Osborne.
Scientists are warning that a potentially record-breaking super El Nino is rapidly strengthening in the tropical Pacific and could become one of the strongest events ever recorded. Forecasters say the climate patterns expected to peak by late fall or early winter, bringing a higher risk of extreme weather, not just for us, but worldwide. That sounded ominous. I wanted to know more about it. Paul Gross, WDIV Meteorologist Emeritus, is joining us to talk a little bit about the super El Nino. When they give these weather events these kind of names, you got to take notice, Paul.
Well, I'll tell you, Marie, the thing to remember is that super media term. We only categorize El Ninos and La Ninas as very strong, moderate, or weak. And so the term super came from the media, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Because remember the term polar vortex, and when that came out,
yeah.
people went bananas. Oh, that you people are just making that. That's a real weather term, though, right? Polar
vortex.
We've
known about that for decades and decades. I mean,
Right.
I was taught about that 45 years ago.
Right,
So,
when you went to school. Exactly. Okay, so what are the factors that are driving this super El Nino?
Well, the thing that people need to remember is that the El Nino and the La Nina, those are and every several years we oscillate from one to another. It's not an exact number of years. And so technically, again, back what I was taught at U of M, it's called a Kelvin wave, actually. And basically, where you get a pooling of extremely warm Pacific Ocean surface water temps, and that pushes eastward. The Kelvin wave pushes it eastward. It pools off the west coast of South America. That's an El Nino. The reverse is when those warm waters are pushed westward and they pool off the Indonesian area. Well, Indonesia area, a La Nina. And because there's such an interaction between the oceans and the atmosphere, these circulation patterns, they have profound effects on the world's weather.
All right. So, but what makes this so notable and so spectacular that really has captured our attention?
Well, it's really the effect on our weather. It's the effect on the weather. And so we see very profound impacts all around the world. And so basically the reason it affects our weather is where you get those real warm ocean waters that are pushed eastward. That's an area where you get more thunderstorms, big thunderstorms, and you get less of them farther to the west where you get the cooler waters. And it's the reverse with a La Nina. With a La Nina, where those warm waters are to the west, that's where you get more thunderstorms back toward Indonesia and less to the east. So it's the fact that those thunderstorms are so concentrated in that area that changes the overall jet stream pattern, and that jet stream pattern goes all around the world and affects the entire world's weather.
So is this going to have an effect on global food production and prices?
It can definitely have an effect depending upon what area you're in and what the impact is. Some areas are going to be hotter and drier. Some areas are going to be wetter. So it just depends what part of the world and where you are in terms of what the impacts are going to be. But in terms of here in the United States, the greatest impacts are during the winter season. And so for you snowbirds, a strong, or in this case, a very strong El Nino means a typically stormier and cooler winter down south. So those of you who go to Florida for the winter, for example, you're going to see perhaps a not as great a winter as you are usually accustomed to down there, and even with greater chances for severe weather. So that's like one specific impact here in the United States that people really take note of.
So will it impact hurricane season, or will this come in after that?
Oh, absolutely, Marie. In the Atlantic hurricane season, which is the one that most of us here in the eastern U.S. care about, we tend to see fewer hurricanes because El Ninos tend to increase wind shear, and wind shear is bad for hurricanes. If you're a hurricane, you don't want wind shear. So basically, a lesser hurricane season is projected. And now that doesn't mean you can't get one good one that hits because, like you remember, hurricane was actually a quiet hurricane season, but you had one real bad one that hit in the wrong place at the wrong time. So that doesn't mean you can't get a bad hurricane. It just means that there are probably going to be fewer of them. And we just have to watch because these ocean temperatures are so much warmer now. If a hurricane does tend to develop in favorable conditions, it's going to be stronger. But I think with the increased wind shear, we are going to see fewer of them. Now, conversely, out in the Pacific, they're going to see more hurricanes. So I think Hawaii not necessarily is going to get hit, but there's going to be a greater chance that they have to keep an eye on some storms that develop. I think we're going to see an enhancement of activity in the Pacific.
Oh, wow. I mean, this is like really large. This is going to impact a large, obviously the globe, as you said, world weather. The question I had when I saw this, the very first thing I thought of, does this mean more like a harder winter or a harsher winter for us here in Michigan? Are we going to see more snow, more frigid temperatures? What is it going to mean for us?
Well, it does have a profound impact on our winters here in Michigan. And I've looked back at the last three real strong to very strong El Niños that have occurred. And in all three of those winters, we had well above average temperatures. And the one that I always remember, and understand, Marie, this is not necessarily exactly what's going to happen, but I remember the big strong El Niño of 1982, 1983. We had 64 degrees on Christmas Day. And there was a sailboat on Lake St. Clair that was spotted.
I remember that.
Right. So a milder winter with less snow is a much better probability this winter than in most winters because of this very strong El Niño. That's something that we have increasing confidence on. Now, again, you have to understand there are other things that affect that jet stream, other circulation patterns, but the way it's shaping up right now, with everything else being equal, it would be a warmer, less snowy winter, and that's not great for the skiers. That Michigan is a huge part of our winter economy is tourism with skiing, and so that's not good for our skiing tourism season. But for people who don't like snow and don't like cold, that's going to be a boon for next winter.
Yeah, but we've had a pretty good ski season here the last couple of years. I mean, we've been talking to people up north, and they're telling us, yes, it's been a great ski season, but maybe not this year so much. It's not looking great right now, but that doesn't mean it can't be good, at least for part of it. It's just we're talking, when we talk about the winter, we're talking about the entire season. That doesn't mean, like, I'll just say as an example, let's say you have a warm December and a warm February, but a really cold, stormy, snowy January. Well, you could still average warmer and less snowy than normal. It's just, it's all concentrated into one period. So that doesn't mean you can't have winter. It just means that overall, we're going to probably have less of it this coming winter. So, you talked about the ocean temperatures already being at record highs. So could climate change influence or maybe even enhance or amplify the effects of this super El Niño?
Oh, absolutely. And it already is. And I'll give you a great example. Okay, El Niño years are typically warmer years for the planet. Okay, we're talking about the whole planet. La Niña years, the opposite. La Niña years are cooler years for the planet. What we have seen is that the cooler La Niña years are now as warm or warmer than the warm El Niño years used to be like 40, 50 years ago.
Oh.
And so there's no question that we're seeing climate change influence this pattern of El Niños and La Niñas. And we've put the atmosphere on steroids, and now the El Niño adds more steroids to the atmosphere. So yes, you would expect that we are seeing more extreme weather as a result of both this pattern, the El Niño, and the warming of the climate.
So the bottom line is, if you're a snowbird and you're heading down to Florida, it may not be as sunny and warm as you'd like it to be for your winter. Keep that in mind. But those of us here staying in Michigan, we're likely going to see a less harsh winter. Let's put it that way. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Paul Gross. We appreciate your insight every single time.
Always great spending time with you, Marie.
Thank you. All right. Have a great afternoon. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Terrion Arnold and the issue of making the right friends. We're always telling our kids, make the right friends. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Of all the wireless companies in America, only one has 5 stars in every category from Consumer Reports, and that company is Pure Talk. Coverage, support, value, data. 5 stars across the board. Plus, no service contracts and no cancellation fees. Just phenomenal U.S. customer service on a crazy fast 5G network. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to a 5-star American wireless company that won't let you down. Pure Talk.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids Max Strength. Its dual active formula has 1,500 milligrams of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolaids spells powerful relief. 1,500 milligrams is their highest amount antacid per tablet. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Big insurance, big pharma, big utilities. As Attorney General, Mike Cox beat them all, saving Michigan seniors and taxpayers billions. As governor, Mike Cox will take the fight to radical big government liberals by eliminating the income tax, dozing state government, rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, and getting prices down. He beat them before, he'll do it again. Marine, homicide prosecutor, Attorney General, Mike Cox for governor. Paid for by Mike Cox 2026.
How has technology, a drone specifically, even in terms of getting a quote on a roof or a roof inspection, how have drones and technology changed the way you guys do things?
The whole AI takeover, drone takeover is huge, right? It's going to affect us, and I think it's going to affect everybody in a positive way as long as they utilize it and obviously with integrity. As far as how we utilize like a drone, if the house is high pitch, if it's not safe for us to walk on, we can do inspections with drones. We also use drone to get roofing schematics, so we know how many square your roof is. We know the flashing. We have all these things documented so that we can again approach the job with 100% expectations of this is what needs to be done. No surprises. Do we find surprises sometimes? Of course we do, but the drone allows us to make that a little less. Now, the one thing to watch out for with the drone, if a company is just doing a drone inspection, the drone doesn't know saturation, it doesn't know moisture, it doesn't know mold, it doesn't know soft wood, it doesn't know deterioration, right? It can see the surface, but unless you're checking the actual roof out with your hands and up there looking at it, you can feel the softness of the plywood. And the most important part is in the attic, right? Underneath the hood of the car is where the mechanic's going to look. That's where we want to look. Most problems are caused by insulation and ventilation, not the outer shell, unless it's just installed properly.
So it's a tool, not the be-all, end-all.
Absolutely. They're all tools, right? Yeah. Absolutely.
Built to last, backed for life. Paramount Roofing.
WJR Traffic and Weather First.
This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Trouble sleeping lately? Upgrade to the great sleep you deserve at Mattress Firm's July 4th sale. Choose from a curated selection of top brands and let their sleep experts help you narrow it down. They make sleep easy.
Midday construction closes your two right lanes on I-75 southbound at Clay Street. You're slow from Kniff Street. That should wrap up by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Traffic signals are still malfunctioning on Ford Road in both directions at Inkster. The railway gate on Beck Road between M14 and 5 Mile still stuck in the down position. Please use Sheldon Road as a detour for the time being. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel. Mostly sunny today. Right now it's 84 degrees. Partly cloudy for tonight, a low of 67. More sun for tomorrow, a high near 90. I'm Rich Luzensky, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Call us or text us. The number's the same. 1-800-859-0957. 1-800-859-WJR. Powered by Michigan Auto Law, Auto Accident Attorneys. Visit autolaw.com. That's autolaw.com.
So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about Terrion Arnold and this idea that the people you surround yourself with can often impact your life, sometimes in a really good way and sometimes in a really bad way. We want to welcome in Darren Nichols, a contributing columnist for the Detroit Free Press, who earlier this week wrote a really great piece. If you can find it, please do so, in the Detroit Free Press, a column about Terrion Arnold. Darren, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So you start your opinion piece with this. It was Terrion Arnold's smile that got to me. So tell me and our listeners what it was about that smile that obviously moved you to write the column that you did.
Sure. For me, it was that he was being charged with very serious crimes, 4 kidnapping and 4 assault charges. And I don't think he really got the sense of, how serious the charges were, and that, and or whether his stardom was going to get him out of the situation that he's in.
Yeah, in fact, you say in the piece that you wrote, it was as if he thought he was just going to go back and put on his uniform and join the Lions again, which of course is not going to happen now. I think they released him, so that's not going to be happening. And
Right.
you talk about the people that he surrounded himself with, and how that was his downfall. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, yes. The media reports show that at least one of the people that he's been involved with was a childhood friend. And so it's really all about surrounding yourself with good people, but also being able to make good choices yourself. And that, one mistake can ruin your life and ruin the years you've spent having a good name that now you are associated with being a common criminal.
Right. He was specifically asked, Terrion Arnold was specifically asked about this group of friends that he had. And it was shortly after the incident happened earlier this year. I think it was in February when this whole incident happened, where he
Yes.
thought he had property stolen from him and all this. Okay. So he was asked, there was like a reporter's scrum at one of the Lions pre-practices or whatever. And somebody specifically said to him, don't you think that maybe you should reevaluate the group of friends that you have? And he said, well, no, because I have longtime friends. And then he mentioned his grandfather, I think. So he had no idea what this guy was talking about, what he was asking him about. I'm not sure if you talked with him today that he'd be able to really discern that maybe he had made some pretty poor choices with the people he surrounded himself with.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to tell. By all media reports, he denied that he was involved at every step. I would argue that that went down as soon as he got charged because, some of the assailants or some of the people he was with, they all said that he was involved with it. He was on uh, a group chat. He was involved with the group chat, and he was on a Zoom. He's on a FaceTime call, and so that call comes into question. Where Terrion Arnold was with this, whether he really thought that he was committing a crime, or whether he just really thought that no one was going to find out that he was involved. And I think I'm leaning toward he didn't really tell the truth to you know to the Lions organization.
Yeah. So what can, I think, because this is such a cautionary tale. And when I first saw this story, it reminded me of many other stories that I'd seen like this. Really, really talented young people that have everything at their fingertips because of this great talent that they have. And they blow it on something like this that could have been prevented. So, what do you think people like family members and coaches and friends, what can we do for the people, the young people that are in our lives to get them to see the light sometimes that the choices they're making or the friends they have are not appropriate?
I don't necessarily think it's incumbent upon us to tell them what to do. It's upon them to be able to listen to the people that are giving them good guidance. There's a dearth of people who give young people and others good guidance. People that were my coaches, they all gave me good guidance as to how we should live our lives. But it's incumbent upon people to listen to what people are telling them, the right things that people are telling them to do. So they end up having good and productive lives. And this situation really is not necessarily about stars because we have people every day who do things like this. And everyone has to understand that we have to listen to the people who are telling us the right things, and also to be able to also discern what people are telling us when they're not telling us the right thing, so that they are able that we are able to discern when we get this have these crazy ideas for us to understand that this is not the smart thing to do.
When this story first broke, it reminded me of something that a judge here in circuit court in Detroit told me many years ago. I had gone to his chambers to talk to him about another story. And at the time, I won't mention the judge or the situation, but there was a young high school student here in the city of Detroit who'd gotten into a lot of legal trouble. And the judge was bending over backwards to try to get this kid on the right path. I mean, he still had to face justice, but this judge was really making an effort to get this kid on the right path because he was so talented and had so much potential.
Sure.
And the judge that was talking to me was not the judge in his case, but he did say to me, he said, Marie, there's not a single person in that boy's life who really cares about him. And we're talking parents here too, and aunts and uncles, because they all felt that this was going to be their ticket to fame and glory and to money and whatever. And they just didn't have enough sense to guide this young man on a proper, and that made me so sad to hear that this kid didn't have that in his life. And I wonder if that's what we're looking at here too.
I mean, I think we're looking at what I say is a cautionary tale that happens in urban America all the time. And not necessarily urban America, but all parts of America where young people are getting the right advice from all those people who are around them, and it really becomes upon the person and whether they want to do right or wrong. I think fundamentally we all understand what's right and what's wrong. It's on us to make decisions whether we decide to change and make a good path in our lives.
It has to do with character, doesn't it, Darren? A lot.
Absolutely.
Inner character, right? Darren,
Absolutely.
what a pleasure to talk with you today here on WJR. Again, this is in the Detroit Free Press, your guest column. Did it appear? It appeared yesterday, correct, in the paper?
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
Yes,
so make sure.
It was Sunday and yesterday.
Yeah, make sure you take a listen or take a look at it and read Darren's comments on this. It's really, every parent should read it. Darren, great job. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Right. Thank you very much.
And we'll continue here on JR Afternoon. I'm Marie Osborne, in for Ryan Armani. We'll be back in a moment.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you got to call Big Lou because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-560-0301, 800-560-0301, or biglou.com.
Paid for by Term Provider. The Rocket Classic returns July 30th through August 2nd at the historic Detroit Golf Club. Tickets are selling fast. This is the one you want to show up for, because at the Classic, you're right there, up against the action, along the fairways and greens of a beautifully restored course. It's world-class golf, remixed with music, food, and the soul of Detroit. The Rocket Classic, presented by Alumnify, undeniably Detroit. Grab tickets while they last at rocketclassic.com.
Spend summer under the stars with the latest blockbuster movies from the Summer Drive-In at USA Hockey Arena in Plymouth. Enjoy dinner from CJ's Brewing Company for a dine-in pre-show experience or with delivery to your screen. Gates open at 7:30. Movies at dusk. SummerDriveIn.com.
JR Afternoon, weekdays at 2 with Ryan Armani on 760 WJR. This is the great voice of the Great Lakes, 760 WJR, Detroit, a Cumulus media station.
defense tried to block it on Lisa Brady, Fox News, but a judge in Utah allowing a video compilation played by prosecutors who say it shows the movements of accused assassin Tyler Robinson on the day Charlie Kirk was killed in Utah.
Lead investigator David Hull testified the footage was compiled from a number of surveillance cameras on September 10th, exactly 300 days ago today.
Fox's Claudia Cowan at the courthouse in Provo, where it's day 2 of a preliminary hearing.
As the video played on a courtroom monitor, Hull described how a car believed to belong to Robinson entered a parking structure. Then a figure matching Robinson's description walked to the amphitheater where Charlie Kirk was set to speak and allegedly interacted with Turning Point USA representatives. Video also captured the suspected gunman on the roof of a nearby building, getting into a sniper position on the corner.
The man in the video is wearing shorts at first, then later in long pants and walking with a limp. Prosecutors believe Robinson hid the rifle down a pant leg. The defense challenging ballistics and DNA evidence. New York City fire officials investigating reports of falling bricks find support columns buckling at a building under renovation on the east side of Midtown Manhattan, immediately evacuating the surrounding area.
So far, all workers in the building that is being converted from commercial to residential use are accounted for. Until more equipment arrives, FDNY Department Chief John Esposito said they're prepared for the worst.
The building has continued to move since we've been on the scene. We have a frozen zone and a collapse zone set up.
Drones are also assessing conditions until engineers can get in and find out what caused the buckling.
Fox's Gernal Scott just getting reports in Maine that former state Senate President Troy Jackson has filed paperwork that could lead to a U.S. Senate run. This is Graham Plattner, who won a Democratic primary in June despite multiple controversies, is now facing growing calls to step aside after an ex-girlfriend accused him of rape, which he denies. America's listening to Fox News.
WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Sponsored by Weingarts. Join Weingarts during their Time to Mow summer event going on now. Let their experts help you find innovative products for your lawn from top brands like Cub Cadet. Cub Cadet Tractor's premium performance will help you unlock the possibilities of your lawn. Visit Weingarts.com to see their complete equipment lineup and shop parts online. We have an accident blocking your left shoulder on I-275 northbound at 8 Mile. Another wreck on I-475 northbound after Hill Road. That accident on 75 southbound at M59 is cleared. Still seeing some stop-and-go traffic on US 23 southbound between I-96 and 8 Mile. Your right lane is closed there due to construction. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by NHTSA. Speeding while driving gives you less time to react. Another car could turn out in front of you. A pedestrian could be walking their dog. Follow the speed limit to keep them safe. Speeding catches up with you. Mostly sunny today. Right now it's 84 degrees, partly cloudy for tonight, a low of 67. More sun for tomorrow, a high near 90. I'm Rich Luzensky, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Hi, it's Paul W. Let's talk about the roof on your home. A lot of you will need to replace your roof this summer, but be forewarned. There are roofing companies out there that skip over the most important part of the process, the attic ventilation. You see, if your attic doesn't have proper air circulation, it can cause problems such as mold and wood rot, leaks in the winter, not to mention higher AC bills in the summer. This is one of the reasons I recommend Victor's Home Solutions to my listeners. Their process begins with a free 21-point roof inspection that includes a thorough inspection of your attic. They know that if the ventilation isn't right, the roof will be built on a shaky foundation. Every Victor's roof comes with a well-thought-out attic ventilation plan, and that's why they can offer a 50-year leak-free guarantee on every roof they install. Money-saving discounts and financing incentives are available. Call for your free 21-point roof inspection and estimate today. 866-VICTORS, 866-VICTORS, or victors.com.
Serving my country required sacrifice. Sacrifice that changed my life forever. I remember the day I came home. Because of my injuries, this house wasn't right for me anymore. I remember the narrow doorways, the small bathrooms, the shelves out of reach when in my wheelchair. Every day was full of obstacles. I felt trapped. I remember a better day, the day my family received a specially adapted custom home from Homes for Our Troops. That day changed everything. Now we have a safe and accessible home to enjoy the freedom I fought for. This place, our home, is exactly what we needed to rebuild our lives.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
This is JR Afternoon on 760 WJR with guest host Marie Osborne.
Welcome back to our Tuesday afternoon here on JR. And Ryan Armani has a few days off, but we're here holding down the fort, as they say. Great afternoon, although a little warm, and I think it's getting warmer this afternoon and for the next couple of days. We are alongside, as always, Beth Ann Long, our producer, Danielle Mason, our engineer, taking care of all the switches for us and making sure that we stay on the straight and narrow. If you missed any of our interviews, maybe in our first hour, you missed Paul Gross talking about this super El Niño that's coming. That may mean we're going to have maybe a milder winter here in Michigan, but for our snowbirds who travel south for the winter, they may not be seeing as much sunshine and warm temperatures as they'd like, and that this super El Niño will impact weather worldwide. If you want to hear that interview again, go to WJR.com. We've posted that interview there, and Paul's always such a great conversationalist, so knowledgeable about weather, and we have it there. Also, last hour, Darren Nichols, contributing columnist for the Detroit Free Press, joined us. Talk about his insights into the situation with former Detroit Lion Terrion Arnold, who is now facing very, very serious legal problems. And Darren making the case that the people you surround yourself with in life, whether they're good ones or bad ones, will impact your life, and how meaningful in this particular case those choices are, and how it boils down to Darren saying, you know, people do have to make the right choices in life too. It isn't just about blaming the people around you. You have to make the right choices yourself in life. Also, remember, you can stream the show on YouTube at 760 WJR. If you subscribe, you can stay up to date. And of course, it is free. Again, it's on YouTube, 760 WJR. We're happy you could join us either old-fashioned way on the radio. Maybe you're going to listen back at a podcast, or joining us live on 760 WJR on YouTube. Lots following today in the news. It's day 2 of that preliminary hearing to decide whether there is enough evidence to try Tyler Robinson. He's the suspect accused of killing Charlie Kirk, taking place in Utah today again. During the hearing, Judge Tony Graff ruled that footage submitted by prosecutors showing Robinson walking around the scene of the shooting could be made public. Here's what he had to say.
Having taken in consideration all factors, the court rules that Exhibit 12.4 is admitted into evidence and shall be played in the courtroom and may be broadcast by the media.
Attorneys for Robinson said that this footage should not be shown. They claimed its publication would unfairly depict their client. The families of both Charlie Kirk and Tyler Robinson were in attendance for the hearing today. President Trump partaking in a bilateral meeting with his Turkish counterpart ahead of the NATO summit today. President briefly discussing the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, revealing he spoke to the leaders of both countries on Monday.
I had a very good talk with President Putin, who, by the way, has a lot of respect for President Erdogan, a lot of respect for him. We had a long talk yesterday, it lasted a long time, and I also spoke with President Zelensky right after that. Well, I was testing to see whether or not they'd be there, because I've long said that we help them, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. And Italy turned us down, and Germany turned us down, and France turned us down.
He is talking about some of the NATO members there.
We did something in Iran. We don't need anybody's help. I didn't even want their help. But before I asked, they said they wouldn't be there. And we've invested trillions of dollars in NATO.
President Trump says he thinks both his Russian and Ukrainian counterparts want to get a peace deal completed. It comes after Russia launched a massive missile and drone attack on Kyiv earlier this week on Ukraine, killing more than 20 people. Michigan health officials are still searching for the source of a growing cyclosporiasis outbreak that's now sickened more than 700 people statewide. The illness is caused by a microscopic parasite. It's typically spread through contaminated food or drinks. It is not spread person to person, by the way. Investigators are reviewing hundreds of food histories. No specific produce item, grower, or supplier has been linked to this outbreak. Symptoms can include severe diarrhea, stomach cramps, nausea, weight loss, and a low-grade fever. Health officials are recommending thoroughly washing fresh produce, avoiding pre-washed bagged salad mixes unless you wash those too. Anyone experiencing ongoing gastrointestinal illnesses should contact their healthcare provider and the local health department. Again, this cyclosporiasis outbreak sickening more than 700 people now statewide. And earlier we talked, as I said, to Paul Gross about this super El Niño and how it's emerging and how it's going to be impacting weather around the world. Here's how it might impact us.
Well, it's really the effect on our weather. We see very profound impacts all around the world. And so where you get those real warm ocean waters that are pushed eastward, that's an area where you get more thunderstorms, big thunderstorms, and you get less of them farther to the west where you get the cooler waters. And it's the reverse with the La Niña. With La Niña, where those warm waters are to the west, that's where you get more thunderstorms back toward Indonesia and less to the east. So it's the fact that those thunderstorms are so concentrated in that area that changes the overall jet stream pattern, and that jet stream pattern goes all around the world and affects the entire world's weather.
So what's it going to mean for us specifically here in Michigan?
Well, it does have a profound impact on our winters here in Michigan. And I've looked back at the last three real strong to very strong El Niños that have occurred. And in all three of those winters, we had well above average temperatures. And the one that I always remember, and understand, Marie, this is not necessarily exactly what's going to happen. So a milder winter with less snow is a much better probability this winter than in most winters because of this very strong El Niño. That's something that we have increasing confidence on.
And how will it affect the people heading south to Florida?
The greatest impacts are during the winter season. And so for you snowbirds, a strong, or in this case, a very strong El Niño means a typically stormier and cooler winter down south.
Oh, so if you're following the sunshine, it may be a little hard to find this winter in Florida. Maybe a little harder to find. So weather impacted by this super El Niño. I think we're going to hear a lot more about this as time goes on. Prince Harry, who is visiting his home country for a week, has lost his privacy lawsuit against Associated Newspapers Limited. They're the publisher of the Daily Mail, the Mail on Sunday, and Mail Online. This highly anticipated verdict comes after Harry, along with 6 other high-profile claimants, including Elton John and Elizabeth Hurley, sued these newspapers alleging unlawful information gathering, alleging privacy breaches that included voicemail interception, phone hacking, and obtaining personal information through deception. The Associated Newspaper has denied the allegations. They deemed them preposterous, in fact, and they argued that its journalists relied on legitimate sources for information, including friends and royal aides. So he has lost that lawsuit in Great Britain. We'll continue here on JR Afternoon. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more about what we talked about at the top of the show, and that is young adults living at home for a much longer period of time than they ever have before. I think you can guess why, but we'll talk to David Hall, President and CEO of Hall Financial, when we come back.
Life is beautiful and fragile. We fall. We get tired. And sometimes we get sick. But with Corewell Health, we are also strong. We fight disease. We battle cancer. We come together. We come back. We push forward. When the body breaks, we break through. Corewell Health. We can.
Big insurance, big pharma, big utilities. As Attorney General, Mike Cox beat them all. saving Michigan seniors and taxpayers billions. As governor, Mike Cox will take the fight to radical big government liberals by eliminating the income tax, doging state government, rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, and getting prices down. He beat them before. He'll do it again. Marine, homicide prosecutor, attorney general. Mike Cox for governor. Paid for by Mike Cox 2026.
Your sign is your company's calling card, your identity, your brand, and your first impression. The experts at Identicom Signs provide complete turnkey signage solutions, handling every detail from design and permitting to fabrication and installation. Whether you're a restaurant, retailer, healthcare provider, or other commercial business, Identicom Signs can help elevate your company's image. If your brand needs freshening up, visit IdenticomSigns.com. That's IdenticomSigns.com.
Scrolling with Haley. I'm Haley Carania. I scroll with the homies here in the live chat because there's a lot to scroll through on X, on Instagram, on TikTok.
Cutting through the clutter, one hot take at a time.
Love seeing you all in the chat before the show. I tried to jump in just a few minutes before to say hello. I love the chat interaction. Thank you for helping. But I do it to get all of the videos and all of the content that you won't find anywhere else.
Scrolling with Haley.
Just search that up and I will be there.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids Max Strength. Its dual active formula has 1,500 milligrams of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolaids spells powerful relief. 1,500 milligrams is our highest amount of antacid per tablet. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Your weekends just got better at the Village of Rochester Hills. Pack your blankets and head to Festival Park for our free summer concert series every Friday and Saturday evening, featuring everything from rock to country. Find the full entertainment schedule today at thevorh.com.
WJR Traffic and Weather First.
This report is sponsored by COSI. The science behind Pixar exhibit open through Labor Day.
The Pixar exhibit at COSI has been so popular that they're extending it all the way through Labor Day. That means we have all summer to learn about the science and creativity behind our favorite movies. So get your tickets now at cosi.org.
You have an accident blocking your left shoulder on I-275 northbound at 8 Mile. Construction slowing you down on US 23 southbound between I-96 and 8 Mile. You're slow from Heine Road there. That's scheduled to wrap up by 8 p.m. And I-475 northbound after Hill Road. Steer clear of an accident there. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Mostly sunny today. Right now it's 85 degrees. Partly cloudy for tonight, a low of 67. More sun for tomorrow, a high near 90. I'm Rich Luzensky, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Wednesday on JR Morning, we'll talk with Kristen McDonald-Rivet. She's got a plan to stop public officials from using their position for insider trading. And it's Wednesday, so we'll put on our dancing shoes for Name That Tune right here from 6 until 9 a.m. on WJR, WJR.com, and the always free WJR app.
Living with mom and dad is becoming the new normal for a lot of young adults. You may know some. They may be living in your home. With home prices starting above $400,000, rents at record highs, and student debt weighing heavily on budgets, nearly half of Americans under 30 now live with a parent. What was once seen as a sign of failure, well, it's increasingly viewed as a smart financial move. Experts say the trend, which accelerated during the pandemic, is now reshaping everything from housing design to family dynamics as more young adults choose to stay home to save money to build for financial stability. David Hall joining us, President and CEO of Hall Financial. Hi, David. Hi, David.
How are you? Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's
Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's all right. We got you now. So what do you think about, what do you make of this trend of young people, adults under 30 living with a parent where, you know, it used to be, well, at least in my generation, that was considered kind of a failure to launch, if you will. But now a lot of young people are doing it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's gone up a little bit as the report shows. And, I think that there's always been this sort of, hey, I'm going to move back home. I'm going to save some money. I'm going to buy a house. Now a little bit more necessity behind it with home prices having gone up, obviously at the highs, of all time. And especially on the coast in California, New York, very, very difficult for a first-time home buyer, but also interest rates, being stubbornly still over where people would want them to be to purchase a home. So we've seen over the last year or year and a half, a couple of times rates have dipped under 6. They've mainly been in the mid 6s on average. And so as we've seen those dips, we've seen more people get into the game because it gets a little more affordable, but it just hasn't happened that often. And people are getting frustrated. And instead of going out and renting, because rent is not any cheaper, they're moving back in with mom and dad, and hopefully they're saving some of that money, because we still know that folks that have bought over the last couple of years have made money on the equity that they've built in the home. So still a smart financial decision, just tougher to pull it off right now.
Exactly, for a number of different reasons. And also, as we were talking at the start of the show here with our producer, Beth Ann Long, she happened to get her first job right out of college within a couple of months. She came to work with us here at WJR. So she was able to move here to Detroit and take this job. But she said so many of her friends are just living at home. Part of the problem is that they can't find a decent job or a job that'll pay enough for them to live on their own.
Yeah, I know. It's a real problem. So what has that meant? Well, it's meant that in general terms, younger people have had a harder time buying homes. We saw at one point there was a report that the average first-time homeowner was 37, 38 years old, and that actually got corrected. It was a little lower than that in the mid-30s, but still not the 27, 28-year-old you would think you would see. And so as folks think about getting into the workforce, whether they're in college or just newly maybe out of a university, maybe they didn't go to college, maybe a trade school, whatever it is, you got to start planning now with credit, with down payment, with everything else. There are still plenty of great programs to get into with a low amount down. You've just got to be able to afford the payment. There's a couple of things that you want to know about that, but that is becoming more and more the obstacle, whereas the obstacle used to be the down payment. Now it's more, can I afford the monthly payment, which again isn't going to be a lot different from the rent, because rents keep climbing as well. So it's quite a conundrum, and it's been tough for folks that are, typically in that first-time home buyer phase in their mid to early 20s, but it just hasn't happened for them yet, and so they've got to save up.
Well, but I like what you said a minute ago. You kind of had some advice there for people, and that is, as people are maybe nearing the end of their college careers, or maybe they're going to trade school and they're nearing the end of that, to start planning ahead, well ahead in advance, for what living on your own might look like and what you're going to need to do that.
That's right. And the two biggest, easiest tips that I always give folks when I talk or when I go to meet with college students is, number one is you've got to take care of your credit score. Because if your middle credit score out of your 3 credit scores is 760 or above, you're going to get the very best terms and the very lowest rate on your mortgage. And then the second thing I always just try and get them to do is set up your budget so you pay yourself first. And what that means is that whether it's $100 a month or $300 a month or $600 a month or whatever you can afford to put into savings, pay yourself first. Don't go spending all of your allotted money that's coming in from your check and then say, oh, what do I have left over that I could save? Start with the savings first, then figure out your lifestyle after that. Because if you're putting away $200, $300, $400 a month, it'll only be a year or two until you can afford for the down payment. So those are my 2 best pieces of advice: is put the money away first from your check and make sure you take care of your credit, because that's completely in your control to get your credit score in the best shape it can be.
How long does it take to shape up a credit score that maybe is a little lower than you'd like?
It depends on the situation, but I would tell you in general, it would take between 90 and 180 days. It doesn't take that long in the relative scheme of things. If you've done some things to your credit, maybe you ran up a credit card in college, maybe you had a couple late payments or a medical thing, it doesn't take a year or two. It typically will take somewhere in between 60 days and 180 days to fix that. I find on average it's about 3 to 4 months, and you just got to make sure you're taking the right steps so that you continue to check your credit and make sure that anything that's on there that you want off of there, that it moves at the right pace. And we, of course, help people with that, no obligation. That's part of what we do as a financial company.
And also, I like your advice, too, to pay yourself first. Because, I mean, look, we're all guilty of this, that if you have the money, the next thing you know, you've bought 14 lattes and you don't know where that extra $100 went, right? I mean, we all, whether it's lattes or buying around, on a Friday night or whatever it is, that's what happens.
That's right. The reason we give this advice is because our younger selves could have used it more, right? So it's like, I'm trying to help out the folks that are in their 20s now that I'm 55 and let them know, hey, this is how you should go about things right from the jump. When you get your first job, figure out how much money you want to put away and then do your lifestyle after you start saving money. It's some of the best advice I ever got.
This living at home, these young people who are living at home, do you think in any way this is maybe setting them up for the wrong direction in life? Maybe it'll give them this false sense of security that, maybe they aren't going to pay themselves first, and maybe they're going to put off trying to clean up their credit score. Do you think that's a bad trend overall, or is it going to be something that's motivating?
It's all personality driven. I would tell you that I think a lot of folks, when they move back home, it does humble people to some degree. Nobody really wants to go back and live with mom and dad for the most part. So if you take it as just something you're going to do for a year or two, so you can put some money away, you're not putting $900 a month towards rent. Instead, you're going to go ahead and save that money so you have a really nice down payment. That's the way you've got to approach it. And it's all positive as long as you use the money that you would have used for rent in a more positive way to save for yourself.
Right. So you've got to, so here's the thing. You got to be disciplined that if you're going to do this, and maybe parents can help that along to say, how long do you intend to live here? What is your plan? How can we help you reach your goal? And that will help people along the way.
Absolutely. And I also think that getting in touch with somebody like one of our folks at Hall Financial to talk about what your plan is, what is your goal, when do you want to have so much saved up by, what's your pre-approved amount, it kind of formalizes and structures your process for you. So if you say, hey, I want to start shopping in the fall, we're going to stay in touch with you and to some degree ask you how that's going in terms of the savings. It tends to hold people accountable. And we found that a lot of folks have a lot of success by doing that.
Right. And so, again, the plan. I just think that's just always, and a plan is really a goal. And that's always a really, really good thing. And David Hall, right. It is possible for younger people to make the change and to actually get into a home and straighten out their finances.
100%. We have a lot of folks that are pre-approved in all the states that we're licensed in that are out there shopping and buying homes. It's out there for you if you want it.
David Hall, President and CEO of Hall Financial, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Great to be with you.
And we'll continue here on JR Afternoon.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you got to call Big Lou because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-560-0301, 800-560-0301, or biglou.com.
Paid for by term provider.
Car accident that wasn't your fault? Michigan law says you may be owed up to $3,000 for your vehicle damage. But there's a deadline, and it comes faster than you think. We're Michigan Auto Law, and we'll handle the whole claim for free. No attorney fee, no fine print. Fill out one form online. We handle everything. You get the check.
Visit 3kforfree.com. Up to $3,000, zero fees. Only at Michigan Auto Law Auto Accident Attorneys. People over everything.
There's a place where mornings begin with coffee on the world's longest front porch and evenings end with music under the stars. For 140 years, that place has been Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. Join us in our 140th season as America celebrates 250 years for a summer of special events and new Grand American evenings each night, beginning after dinner with outdoor entertainment and patriotic celebration for all ages. Join us for a season to celebrate. Visit grandhotel.com or give us a call at 1-800-33-GRAND and mention code WJR2026 for 15% off our best available rate. Conditions apply.
Fox News, I'm Tom Graham. Legal troubles continue for Facebook and Instagram parent company Meta. 4 states are suing, accusing the social media giant of getting children addicted. Fox's Connor Hansen.
The attorneys general of California, Colorado, Kentucky, and New Jersey are suing Meta, saying it designed its products to hook young users. They want a staggering $1.4 trillion sum.
Meta argues the penalties being sought are untethered from reality. A New York City skyscraper is in danger of collapsing in busy Midtown Manhattan. Mayor Zohran Mamdani says columns are buckled, floors are sagging.
The building remains unstable. Since arriving on scene, we have witnessed additional movement in one of the compromised columns.
The 38-story structure was being renovated. Nearby buildings have been evacuated. America's listening to Fox News.
WJR Traffic and Weather First.
This report is sponsored by MGM Grand Detroit. Get ready to win big this summer at MGM Grand Detroit. Earn entries into the Friday drawings for a chance at the $40,000 progressive cash prize. If it's not claimed by July 31st, it turns into a guaranteed grand prize of $200,000 cash. See the MGM Rewards desk for details. 21 and up.
WJR Traffic and Weather First is sponsored by NECA, IBEW Local 58. Count on the Powering Michigan team of IBEW 58 skilled electricians and NECA signatory contractors for your next commercial, industrial, public, or residential construction project. The best electricians, the best electrical contractors, period. Learn more at poweringmichigansfuture.com. We've got an accident blocking your left shoulder on I-275 northbound at 8 Mile. It's a slow go on I-275 southbound between 7 Mile and M14. Steer clear of a wreck on I-75 southbound after Kniff Street. Some construction slowing you down on US 23 southbound between I-96 and 8 Mile. You're slow from Heine Road. M13 southbound closed between East Parish Road and East Beaver Road. That's in Caucaulin. I wonder if that's near that cheese place with that giant cow. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel. Mostly sunny today. Right now, it's 85 degrees. Partly cloudy for tonight, a low of 67. More sun for tomorrow, a high near 90. I'm Rich Luzensky, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Hey, Jim Harper here. Like many of you, I got LASIK surgery back in the 80s. And recently, I started having trouble seeing. And it turns out they never told us LASIK doesn't last forever. So now what? Glasses? I haven't worn glasses in years, and I'm as vain as the next person. But then I remembered Mariana and the staff at Direct Optical Optique and how great they were at finding cool frames that look good on me, because they are frame stylists. You can't get that on the web or a big box store, and nobody has a bigger selection of designer frames than Direct Optical Optique. And Mariana still knows everybody by name. She's still selling cool glasses, one pair at a time, with a very personal touch. So if you wear glasses now or are wearing them again, you got to go to Direct Optical Optique and let them treat you like a star. They're the only ones who can do that. 2 great locations, Haggerty Road north of Maple and West Bloomfield, and in Canton on Ford Road next to IKEA. OptiqueDetroit.com on the web.
Do you have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Call InventHelp today. We have representatives nationwide who will explain the InventHelp process step by step. Over 10,000 patents have been secured through InventHelp's patent referral services. The InventHelp data bank includes thousands of companies who have agreed to review new ideas. We've been helping inventors since 1984. Let's help you next. Get started today.
Call 1-800-217-4380. That's 1-800-217-4380. Again, 1-800-217-4380.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
America 250, Michigan made.
She grew up in a Detroit church where Sunday morning sounded like a thunderstorm of soul and spirit.
You're the key to my peace of mind, 'cause you make me feel.
From the pulpit to the piano, her voice carried a country's hopes and heart.
Like a natural woman.
And when America needed a soundtrack for change, she gave it one.
You make me feel. You make me feel like a man.
She turned gospel fire into soul anthems, blending church, blues, and pop into something unmistakably American. Her songs fill radios, records, and living rooms, reminding people what freedom and possibility were supposed to feel like. She would become the first woman ever inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a voice of a generation, a daughter of Detroit, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin.
America 250, Michigan made. From 760 WJR. Wake up tomorrow with JR Morning with Chris Renwick, Lloyd Jackson, and Jamie Edmonds on 760 WJR. Right now, it's JR Afternoon with Ryan Ermani. Here's today's guest host, Marie Osborne.
And we are thrilled to bring you a rising star, celebrating Detroit's young leaders. Rising Stars is a signature partnership between 760 WJR and the Detroit Economic Club that spotlights the next generation of leaders shaping Southeast Michigan. Each year, the program recognizes 10 exceptional professionals under 40 who are excelling in their careers while giving back to their communities in meaningful ways. And this week, we want to introduce you to our honoree, Chris Michaels, Senior Business Attraction Representative at Oakland County Economic Development. Chris, welcome to WJR and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Marie. I appreciate it. It is a pleasure to be here and to get this opportunity to speak with you and share a little bit more about what I do and what Detroit Economic Club does.
Yeah, and you know what? Before we want to talk about where you're going. Let's talk about where you've been. I thought it was interesting that you got a degree in broadcasting, which is my line of work, from Central Michigan University, a great school for broadcasting and journalism. And you did do this work for a while. Tell us about your past.
I did. That's why this is especially exciting for me to get the chance to speak with you, because that was my lifelong dream, was to be a sports broadcaster. And I went to Central Michigan and got a lot of great opportunities, of course, fired up chips, and moved out to Grand Junction, Colorado for a year and was the weekend sports anchor and reporter at the local news station there. And got to go to all sorts of different sports, got to cover the minor league baseball team there, the Denver Broncos, the Colorado Avalanche, the Colorado Rockies, got to film, edit, meet some great people, do some great things. Loved my experience in Colorado, but I'm born and raised here in Michigan and wanted to be back here and wanted to be back home and honestly root for my favorite sports teams here.
And so tell me, how did that broadcast experience kind of inform and help you along your path here in your role with the Oakland County Economic Development?
I think I learned so much from broadcasting, right? The main thing of broadcasting, being a journalist, obviously, you know this, I don't need to tell you, is making relationships and making people feel comfortable and getting to tell people stories. And that's what I get to do with Oakland County, right? I get to share why Oakland County is the right place for a company, large or small, whatever industry they're in, to open up a business, for people to move here, to grow a business here, to hire employees, and really make an impact on the county's economy. And so I get to tell the county story and all the great things that go on here in the county business-wise, but then also lifestyle-wise as well. I grew up in Troy. I now live in the county, so I'm very familiar with the area and happy to share that story. And I can give a personal touch because this place does mean so much to me.
So, what do you think is the number one thing that Oakland County has to offer that maybe other places around the state don't?
I hate to compete with the other state, right? With the rest of the state. Michigan is a great place, and we'd love to have a business here in Michigan. But Oakland County, we like to call ourselves the economic engine of the state. I think really the biggest companies, the best opportunities are really here in Oakland County, and success in Oakland County really benefits the entire region and the entire state.
So you've learned a lot about leadership along the way, I'm sure, here in your role with the Oakland County Economic Development. But talk a little bit about your volunteer opportunities and what you've been doing, because a big part of getting this honor as a rising star, again, rising stars celebrating Detroit's young leaders. A big part of this is what your volunteer experiences. What do you bring to the table in your volunteer experiences? So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course, this is kind of in conjunction with the Detroit Economic Club, and I have been so thankful for my experience with the DEC. When I started my role with the Oakland County Economic Development, I really needed to create a new network. I kind of had been transferring industry, starting a new role, and thought, okay, this is the perfect opportunity. Well, right away, the first couple of events I went to, I was able to make some great connections. And through that, kind of realized, okay, there's all these things that you can do to give back to the community. And one of the things that I did as a young leader through the Detroit Economic Club was the Career Readiness Academy, where there was 4 of us mentors who were early on in our profession, met with students. From an assigned school. Our school was International Academy in Troy, and it was a 7-part series giving them lessons on networking and interviewing, creating a resume, kind of the financial side of having a job and figuring out where you want to go to college. And being able to share those lessons with those students was really a great opportunity. And also we learned so much from them as well. I mean, I don't feel like I'm that far out of high school, but it's so much that we could learn and so much that I wish I would have known when I was in high school, going out, getting ready for my career. And it was really an awesome opportunity with the Detroit Economic Club and the Career Readiness Academy.
We just talked with David Hall, President and CEO of Hall Financial. We were talking about young people living at home and how difficult it is for them to launch their lives, their careers, their life, really, because of the economic situation that we find ourselves in. And one of the things that David said was, I wish, I'm giving advice to other people that I wish people had given me, when I was a young person, things like, pay yourself first when you, first start to maneuver a budget, to pay yourself first and things like that. So it sounds like you're doing a little bit of that too, that you're saying, gee, I wish someone had told me that when I was younger, and you're kind of paying it forward in that way.
Absolutely. I think there's, I've been lucky to have a lot of awesome opportunities in my career so far. And a lot of that is thanks to people that I looked up to and made connections with, mentors that I followed and learned from. And I would love to be able to at least give a little bit of that back to people as they are up and coming to really help them out.
Well, listen, we want to congratulate you, Chris Michael. The Rising Stars is a signature partnership between 760 WJR, the Detroit Economic Club, spotlights the next generation of leaders shaping Southeast Michigan. And one of them is Chris Michael, Senior Business Attraction Representative at the Oakland County Economic Development. Thank you so much and congratulations. We expect great things from you, Chris.
Thanks so much, Marie. I appreciate it.
And we'll continue here on JR Afternoon.
It's Ryan Armani. Are you in pain right now? I'm talking about the severe and chronic kind that stops you from enjoying your life. I've been there too, and that's why I want to tell you about the amazing pain elimination treatment I use only at the Nerve and Disc Laser Institute. It's FDA cleared and 100% safe. The highest dose, highest intensity lasers in Michigan. The best part, there's no injections, pain meds, downtime, side effects, or surgery. great for people suffering from arthritis, sciatica, neuropathy, or other ailments. Laser treatments get rid of the pain, they reduce inflammation, and regenerate tissues by targeting the root cause of the pain. It's located in Farmington and Clinton Township. You can call 248-326-2030. That's 248-326-2030. Mention my name this month, and you're going to get 50% off your treatment plan. The Nerve and Disc Laser Institute. Call now.
Point. Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
Oh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh, no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
At Average Al's Furniture Warehouse, our sofas have cushions, our tables have 4 legs, our recliners recline. So come on by for a perfectly average experience.
Cumulus Digital doesn't stop at average. We work with more than 4,000 local businesses every month, delivering campaigns that beat industry averages by over 25%, driving real, measurable growth. You're not average. Your results shouldn't be either. Visit cumulusdigital.com to start outperforming today.
For more than 35 years, MetroCars has set the standard for professional transportation across Michigan and beyond. MetroCars is proud to serve as the official transportation provider of 760 WJR. Executives and business travelers trust MetroCars for dependable airport transportation and seamless corporate travel. From early morning departures to late night arrivals, their professional chauffeurs ensure every ride is punctual, comfortable, and stress-free. Choose MetroCars. MetroCars.com.
WJR Traffic and Weather First.
This report is sponsored by RockAuto.com.
Ooh, Ben Tyrod, what are you going to do?
I'm way ahead of you. I'll be on RockAuto.com before you can even finish this commercial.
He's right. RockAuto.com. Parts when you need them.
All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto.
An accident on I-275 southbound between Michigan Avenue and E-Course. It's taking up your 3 left lanes. You're slow from Ford Road. Traffic's getting by on the right shoulder only right now. M13 southbound between East Parish Road and East Beaver Road closed due to a wreck. The Jeffries eastbound off-ramp to Livernois blocked by an accident. That exit ramp is actually closed right now. I-275 northbound after 8 Mile. Still have that wreck blocking your left lane. I-75 southbound after Kniff Street. An accident blocks your right shoulder. And we're seeing some stop and go on I-94 eastbound between I-96 and Van Dyke. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Mostly sunny for the remainder of the day. It's 85 degrees. Partly cloudy for tonight. We'll drop down to 67. More sun for tomorrow. We'll get up to near 90. I'm Rich Luzensky, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Call us or text us. The number's the same. 1-800-859-0957. 1-800-859-0WJR. Powered by Michigan Auto Law. Auto Accident Attorneys. Visit autolaw.com. That's autolaw.com.
Absentee ballots have landed in mailboxes across Michigan. But how much do voters really know about the people asking for their vote? Oh, that's a big question that's being asked by our next guest, Andrea Bitely, a contributing columnist for the Detroit Free Press and founder of Bitely Communications. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Marie.
So we talked to Craig Mauger of the Detroit News yesterday about Mallory McMorrow dropping her bid for the Senate seat. And he said she was out-strategized by her 2 opponents. We're talking about Haley Stevens here and Abdul El-Sayed. But here's what resonated with me and kind of got me looking at what you were writing in your column. He said that she often talked about her ideas, about what her plans, policies, ideas were for what she saw, once she was elected. But that wasn't a good strategy because these other people had employed a totally different strategies her opponents had. So it got me to thinking, wow, since when are ideas not a good campaign strategy?
Ideas are not a popular campaign strategy, but you know what is? Really punchy social media posts and videos that are designed to either motivate or aggravate us voters here in Michigan.
You hit the nail on the head, and that's basically what he was saying, was that that's how, and that it gets us to respond. Look, I respond to that when I see these videos. Like you said, you either get upset about it or you get, you say, yeah, I agree with that. It's a very natural human thing. So your article argues that Michigan's education system is in crisis. So what do you think these candidates should be talking about in terms of education in their campaigns?
Well, one thing they absolutely need to do is talk to our superintendents and the teachers that are on the ground with kids every day. And you know what's a great time to do that? The summer, when folks are not in the classroom. So right now, these candidates have a really good opportunity to talk to moms and dads, to talk to educators about what's actually working in the classroom. You can read all of the talking points from different groups, but until you're actually talking to the folks that are in the classroom, you don't really know what's going on. So I'd love to hear from the candidates a real education plan, not something written by ChatGPT or something come up by a strategist in Washington, D.C. I'd like to hear what they themselves think we should be doing differently in their classrooms. We've got a number of candidates who have school-age children. What are they seeing in the classrooms? What are their kids coming home and telling them? We've got to have a better way forward for our education system here in the state. It's costing us jobs, both kids who are not coming out of our schools educated in a way that makes sense, and also when large corporations are looking at where they should locate, they're not going to come to the state that's 44th in reading for third graders. They're going to look for a state that's top 10, even top 25. They're not going to go to the bottom. They're going to go to the top.
Well, and now that you're talking about the bottom and our abysmal reading scores in this state, Michigan ranks near the bottom nationally in per capita income growth. Again, businesses are attracted to places where this is on an upward swing, not a downward swing. So what should these candidates present to strengthen the state's economy and increase the economic opportunity here? What are the things they should be saying to voters on this front?
Well, one major component of this is how they would structure or restructure the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. MEDC is responsible for recruiting and retaining business in this state. And that department has been cut down to just a few $1 million under the current budget that just passed last week. So is that what the candidates for governor want? Do they want to revamp the way that we do economic development in this state? Are they looking at a more regional approach, a statewide approach? Are they looking at what other states are doing? I mean, our neighbors to the south are doing a lot more than we are as far as economic development goes. Under Governor John Kasich and Governor Mike DeWine, the state of Ohio has grown significantly, and the same thing in other states around us. So looking at what has been done in other states and finding a way to Michiganize it is something I would like to see from the candidates for governor. It can't just all be left-leaning or right-leaning talking points. We're going to need some actual proof points and researched and thoughtful ways that Michigan's going to go from being 40th in per capita income to maybe at least 30th over the next 4 to 8 years.
Yeah, we should really be above the 25 mark, right? I mean, really to be contenders, right? You mentioned these right-leaning and left-leaning talking points, and sadly, it's a fact that is all that we're hearing. That is all that we're hearing.
We absolutely are. And part of that is we're still in the primary process. So you've got the Democrat candidate, which is mostly just Jocelyn Benson and a little bit from Chris Swanson. You're hearing left-leaning talking points from them, although we are seeing Benson move more in a moderate fashion. But on the Republican side, you're still seeing a pretty heated primary battle. I mean, we have a debate in Detroit tomorrow between the Republican candidates for governor. So I'll be interested at that debate to see exactly what these guys are bringing to the conversation. How are they going to shape policy going forward? Or are we just going to get in a bit of a mudslinging contest tomorrow night, as opposed to a policy-centered conversation that talks about the future of Michigan?
Last year, I did a whole series of reports on AI and Michigan developing as an AI hub, as like the new way forward for the state, where it had once been manufacturing. That AI or that type of technology is going to be our future. And I was very surprised to find how few state programs were out there that were like busy attracting these new types of businesses. Our colleges and universities are doing a pretty good job in this area, but the state is not doing such a great job in this area.
That's absolutely true. And part of it is the opposition and the vocal opposition to data centers. And rather than having a statewide policy right now, we have a very piecemeal approach where you have different communities saying, no, we're going to put a moratorium in place on data centers. And the state of Michigan hasn't stepped in any discernible way to help communities get through the data center process, whether that is bringing in a data center because they want it or rejecting a data center because it doesn't fit their community. To really get into the 21st century of manufacturing and business, we need those data centers to come into the state. You know, banks are relying on them, hospitals, insurance company, automotive manufacturing. They're all requiring really high-speed data implementation to keep their doors open and their lights on. So by not having these come into the state and by not developing AI in a way that is helpful to our economy, we're putting ourselves behind.
Well, and that's also a communication problem with the citizenry. I think people just don't, they're just not being given the answers that they are requesting also. Andrea, we could talk for quite a while on this, but you bring up such a good point. Be sure to read Andrea's piece on the column that she wrote in the Detroit Free Press, talking about this very thing, that people need to talk about the issues that are important to us. Andrea, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Have a great afternoon. Andrea, of course, the founder of Bitely Communications. Thanks for joining us on our Tuesday afternoon. I'll be back again tomorrow. Coming up next here on WJR, we have Mitch Albom and crew. They're coming your way in a few minutes.
Now WJR Health Watch. Here's